Bernie Sanders went on CBS This Morning last week, and he was asked about Obama's Wall Street speech. Obama's getting paid $400,000 to go to some investment firm and jack them off a little bit and tell them how Wall Street's awesome. So let's take a look at Bernie's answer here, but take note of the host's reactions.
President Obama is going to speak at an event here in New York, a Wall Street investment bank, for $400,000 fee. You were critical of Hillary Clinton for taking money like that. What do you say about President Obama making an even larger fee?
Look, President Obama is a friend of mine. I think he, as president, represented our country with integrity and intelligence. But I think at a time when people are so frustrated with the power of Wall Street and the big money interests, I think it is unfortunate that President Obama is doing this. You know, right now you have President Trump's key economic advisor, as you know, is Gary Cohn, former president of Goldman Sachs, a firm that paid $5 billion in federal fines because of illegal behavior. Wall Street has incredible power, and I would have hoped that the president would not have given a speech like this.
Are you saying if you were offered $400,000 to give a speech, you would turn it down?
If Wall Street offered me that, yeah, I don't want Wall Street's money. No.
Even though it's transparent.
But I must tell you, I really don't have to worry about that too much. I haven't gotten too many invitations from Wall Street.
Oh, I bet there's some people out there who would be really
Never
interested
say
in
never,
hearing from you.
Senator. Yes.
That was disgusting. And as my friend Jimmy Dore says, that was basically the opposite of journalism. That was anti-journalism. Like, the whole idea of being in the media is you're supposed to point out the facts and connect the dots for people. So you're supposed to say, Obama's taking $400,000 from Wall Street. Why? Is it because they're really that interested in his position on abortion? No. It's because there's pay-to-play corruption going on. So when Obama was in office, what did he do? He bailed out Wall Street. Not only did he bail him out, he didn't prosecute any of the criminals. There was widespread abuse and systemic fraud on Wall Street. Nobody's in jail. So he looked out for them. Now, furthermore, even when they did Dodd-Frank, it was really weak and there were all these loopholes so Wall Street could go back to doing exactly what they were doing before the crash. And then even after they passed Dodd-Frank, in like random agriculture bills after the fact, they would slip in provisions that repeal different provisions of Dodd-Frank. So you have reform in name only. He gets to do these speeches where it says historic Wall Street reform. But really we have the status quo and business as usual continuing behind the scenes. So he did their bidding. The banks are bigger now than they were before the crash. He did their bidding, and this is him getting paid back for it. And what does the media have to say about it? With scorn and condescension, they laugh at Bernie like, you're telling me if they offered you $400,000, you wouldn't give the speech? So you have so-called journalists casually, nonchalantly being the mouthpiece for corruption and corporatism. But understand that's the only way you get hired to be on a show like this, is if you're not going to rock the boat and you're not going to question the fundamental underpinnings of how society functions and how the economy functions. You're not allowed to be in favor of what's viewed as radical change, even though it's not radical to have, regulation of Wall Street and single-payer healthcare and free college. That's not radical. But your job, if you're put on TV on a stupid show like CBS This Morning, is to not question that stuff. Yeah, okay, we have student loan debt out the wazoo, over $1 trillion. People are struggling, to get by. Okay, people die because they don't have access to healthcare. Whatever. Now let me make snarky remarks about how it's awesome and it's totally fine that the president of the United States takes $400,000 from Wall Street who fucking bought him. No, that's everything that's wrong with the media right there. Bernie handled it okay. He's like, look, I don't think they want to pay me anyway, and he's joking around about it. But you know what it is, man? When you're inside that DC bubble, when you're part of the establishment bubble and you're a corporatist, like all of them are, they view Bernie, when he says stuff like this and when he acts like this, they view that as grandstanding. They view that as like, virtue signaling. Like, oh, you're going to show off about that, right? You're just going to, make it look like we're all assholes and we're all corrupt because you wouldn't take the money. Is that what you're going to do, Bernie? That's what you're going to do? So like Debbie Wasserman Schultz the other day, she was asked about this on CNN by Aaron Burnett about Obama's speech. And she basically she was like angry about it. And she's like, what a private citizen makes, it's none of your business. Mind your own business. How can you question his dedication to getting money out of politics? This is what she said about Obama. Well, he didn't even try to get money out of politics. So what the fuck does that even mean? But in her mind, it's a duh. In her mind, taking money from Wall Street, representing them, while sprinkling in little things here and there that maybe help the people. That's, what do you mean? That's how the system functions. That's just what it is. So the corruption to them, the corporatism to them is such a duh that they look at Bernie when he says stuff like this, and that's why they all hate him. Everybody in the establishment hates Bernie Sanders. Everybody does. Because they view him doing this as like he's not keeping it real. They view Debbie Wasserman Schultz, they view Hillary Clinton, they view Barack Obama, and how they're taking the Wall Street money and doing their bidding. They view that as like, oh, they're keeping it real. But they're not keeping it real. They're keeping it corrupt. And you have the last honest politician in America on air here telling you, hey, do you not see the connections? Do you not see the problem here? And they're fucking... Charlie Rose gave you the moderate position in the establishment. That's Hillary Clinton's position. You heard what he said? He's like, oh, you're not in favor of him taking the money? Even if it's transparent? So in other words, the corruption is okay as long as you let everybody know you're being corrupt and you report the dollar amount and stuff. That's Hillary's idea. We want to rid politics of dark, unaccountable money. Wait. Why'd you add the words dark and unaccountable? Why didn't you say rid politics of money? Don't you want to get money out of politics? No, they want to get dark, unaccountable money out of politics. In other words, let us know who's bribing you, and then it's okay to be bribed. That was Charlie Rose's position. No, it's not okay either way. It's so obvious they're representing the corporations. And what do the people in your supposed watchdog media say? What, Bernie, you wouldn't take the money? Loser. And by the way, this is why new media is so important. Because we're here to pick up the slack. And by the way, with no advertising budget at all, we beat shows in the middle of the day in the key demographic on CNN. Why? Because we talk about shit that's real. You have Robot Wolf Blitzer and Dunderhead Don Lemon musing on about things that they got no clue what the fuck they're talking about. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch that. But of course, they have the billions and billions of dollars in backing of the advertisers, whereas we get our funding slashed by 50% overnight, which is actually even better than the fucking total blacklisting we had temporarily. But that's why we now rely on you for the majority of our funding. The audience really props up this show, and it's not just me. It's Jimmy Dore. It's the Humanist Report. It's other independent, progressive new media outlets that you love. So I don't want to turn this into a shameless plug because this is much more important than secular talk and what we're doing. But look, man, patreon.com/secular talk. If you really enjoy what you're listening to and you really like the show, just give $2 a month is all we ask. That works out to about 1 cent per video. In fact, it's probably less than 1 cent per video. So you need to ask yourself, is this show worth 1 cent per video to you? Because you guys are the ones that really drive us. You're the ones that keep us going. So Bernie Sanders here is unfortunately getting the full brunt of corporate media and their smug, nonchalant corruption.